When the summer deal, I found pressure. Don't wanna see the numbers, I wanna see heaven. You say, could you write a song for me? I say, I'm sorry about you that I believe.
Hello guys, this is Anime Wizard 101, and I'm here with Chapter 1 review of Toriko. So let's begin. From the first couple pages, we get to learn that the time or era of Toriko in the series is in the era of the gourmet. So from what I know, gourmet means food or has to do something with food. So I'm guessing the series is gonna be about food, I guess. So as we move on, we change pages and we see something that seems like the nightlife in a big city, and all we see is like people eating food, crabs, baked chicken legs, ramen, you know, just the usual, people having fun, drinking beer, the nightlife, partying. And then we get to page 6, and then we come up to the first panel. Says IGO, part of the International Gourmet Organization, Hotel Gourmet. And then we have 3 characters that are first displayed, and then we're introduced to the IGO director, and he's talking to the chef or the head chef. They're planning to do what is called the gourmet assembly, and he doesn't want regular food to be served at the assembly because the IGO president is going to be attending. So he's asking the chef to get something called the Galala Alligator meat. And then as soon as the chef and the chef's boss hear that the name Galala Alligator meat, they get shocked. And then the director explains that the Galala Alligator is level 5 capture difficulty. So I'm guessing every ingredient has like some kind of capture level. So I guess the higher you go, the more difficult it is to obtain. So he really wants it to be served as the main dish at this assembly. So the director states that he's willing to hire someone called the Bishukuya, which means luxury food provider. And then the chef is like, do you mean Toriko? And then we switch pages, and then we come to a lake, and then we see this man like fishing, but he has a big, huge like fishing rod, and he has as for bait, he has like a big ass, like, I don't know what that is, a fly, like a freaking fly, like it's huge. And then we see the chef like all dressed up in a suit. He goes up to Toriko, and then he's explaining about how much he's gonna get paid. And then all Toriko is doing is he has like a case, and all he's doing is like eating food for like 10 panels or 8 panels. And then he grabs a bottle of some, what is it called, bourbon alcohol. And then there's some panels that zoom in, and it says, so this is 750 milliliters of alcohol, and it's 50% proof, no, 50% alcohol, so it's pretty strong stuff. And then we see him just he grabs the bottle like this, and he just slices the bottom part off, and then he just like chugs it from the bottom, and he just drinks it in one gulp. And the chef is like completely surprised. And then we see Toriko like get some piece of bark, and then he has his fingers like this, so he's like this, and then he snaps his fingers, and then he lets on fire. And then I'm like, what? That's crazy. I'm just like the chef, like what? Um, and then he finally like recognizes like there's somebody there, and Toriko's like, "What the heck are you?" And the chef is like, "Oh, like I guess you weren't paying attention to what I said," and he's just like very nervous. And then he explains again that he's here to hire him to get the Galala alligator for him, and he explains how he's gonna get paid. And then Toriko makes the assumption that he's working for the ones that want the alligator at the IGO, or yeah, the IGO. And then he says that it's gonna be super hard to capture it alive. And then his fishing rod starts to move, so there's something on the line. And then there's like this big ass fish that has like pincers, which is weird. Instead of like fins, it has pincers. So okay, so I guess there's like really weird animals in this series. And then it's called the pincer fish. And then we change pages, and the next panel we see some kind of like huge kind of bird looking thing. I don't know what it's called, but it's huge and it catches a fish. And then Toriko, he gets mad, and he just slams the bird and the fish onto the floor and knocks them both out, since the fish was still stuck to the fishing line. And they get both knocked out. And then the chef is like, he drops, like his jaw drops. It's just funny, like the way the author like draws things. Sorry guys, it's a super long discussion. It's like 50 pages, so bear with me. Toriko then says that the bird is called the five-tailed great hawk. So, and then he starts explaining to the chef how he caught it with like the fishing rod, and how it's made of 76mm steel rod with wires used for elevators wrapped around it. And it's okay, so that's crazy. So I guess the fishing rod is pretty strong. So we move on, and then Toriko then explains that the Galala crocodile will easily break this rod because of the catcher level. And then Toriko tells the chef, he's like, I'm gonna capture this alive, so I want to get paid double. And then the chef is like surprised and astonished. He's like, you gonna capture it alive? He's like, yeah. He's like, Toriko's like, it's not worth it. It's not worth the money to capture it dead, so I'm just gonna capture it alive. And so I'll let your boss know. And then Toriko, I guess he has like a super big appetite, because then he tells the chef, I'm gonna go fish for the main dish or something to eat. He says that the hog and the fish were just for dessert, so it's crazy. What the hell? So we move on, and then Toriko tells the chef that Chef Komatsu, that they will leave tomorrow. So now they go to the bay, and then we find out that there are about 3,000 kind of food ingredients existing, but people say that 2% of them were discovered by Toriko in the era of gourmet, in the gourmet era. And then, so we're at the bay, and then Toriko's about to get on the boat, and then he sees Komatsu come out of nowhere, and then he's like, what are you doing here? And then we find out that Komatsu he actually volunteered to go to this trip because he wanted to see how Toriko catches how he's going to capture the Galala crocodile or gator. And then we are introduced to Tom, the ship captain. And then they finally get in the boat, and then Tom makes the assumption like he's thinking 215 kilograms. And then I guess he's like predicting Toriko's like how much he weighs or something. And then I'm gonna quote this because it's pretty funny. Tom says you gotten thinner, Toriko, and Toriko's like, nah, I just pooped earlier. And he's like, he's like, haha, you shit and lose 15 kilograms of weight. What kind of shit is that? And Toriko's like, 15 kilogram shit. Like, it's crazy. So yeah, it's kind of funny and a little bit disturbing, I guess, because they're talking about shit. So it smells a lot, I guess. And then Tom tells him that he can only take him as close to the barren, something called the barren islets. And Toriko's like, yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it. And then Toriko tells Komatsu to write his will because it's gonna be a really tough adventure. And Komatsu's like what? Like, I have to write a will? It's like, oh, okay. And so they set off, and then there's a couple panels with like no writing, and just illustrations. And then we see Toriko just drinking wine. Like, he opens 3 bottles of wine and he's just chugging them like down the throat. And then yeah, there's a good amount of comedy here, because Tom, when he's riding, he's steering the boat. He's like, hey, drinking champagne before work, and he's like, give me some. That's crazy. And then after that, he's like, yeah, like, this is an appetizer because I need to eat the amount of weight that I pooped. So it's like, what? Like, how is that even possible? How the hell are you gonna eat 15 kilograms of food? Or yeah. And then Toriko introduces Komatsu to Tom, and then Tom is like, damn, like, you're a really like courageous person and weird for coming here. And then so now we see that Komatsu's writing his will, and then we see Toriko eating food again. So damn, he eats so much food. It's like so much food. And then Toriko, I guess he has like a keen sense of smell or something, because then he just asks Komatsu like, oh, where do you work? Do you work in a deluxe hotel or exclusive restaurant? And then Komatsu's thinking like, how do you know I work in like a high class workplace or something? I haven't told you anything. And then Tom is the one that actually like clarifies this to Komatsu. And then Toriko tells Komatsu like, yeah, I could tell that you work in a high place because or a fancy restaurant, because I could smell the odors from. So as Chef Komatsu is explaining to Toriko where he works, he tells him that he's the chief cook of Hotel Gourmet, a five-star hotel. And then Toriko's like, oh, you should make me your full course meal, and so I could eat it. Freaking Toriko, freaking crazy, start freaking eating and shit. So the next part is really important because I'm gonna quote this because it's important. So Komatsu tells Toriko that as a chief cook at the hotel, to be one of the best cooks in the world is my dream, without being the shame of this era. So now we know that Chef Komatsu, his dream is to be the best chef in the world, or one of the best. And then he goes on to asking Toriko what his dream is, and he notices that freaking Toriko is eating food again and again and again and doesn't really pay attention to him. And then he asks Toriko again, oh, what's your dream? And Toriko's like, oh, my dream is to make my own full course meal. And since he's discovered quite a few of ingredients in the world, we see a panel and it's like it's empty. There's a lot of blanks. And then he's like, I'm not really sure what I want to put in my full course yet, but I'll know when I taste it. So while they're talking, Tom says that they're finally there. They finally got to the island, and then we see a panel. It's like of the island is so many rocks everywhere. And then Toriko just explains to Komatsu that there's only one way to get through all these rocks, and the captain knows how to get through them. So he's like, so Captain Tom just goes off, and he's swerving through the rocks, and Komatsu's being thrown off balance, and Komatsu's thinking, how is it possible that Toriko is not bothered by this? He's just standing there like all boss like this. And then as they're moving, Toriko notices that there's animals that shouldn't be there by the rocks. And then they finally stop and they reach a marsh. And Toriko is like, Tom is like, I could take you more inside. Like we could get through this in a jiffy. And Toriko is like, no, like, you could stop here. Like, you could give us a raft and we'll go from there. And then Tom's like, why? He's like, oh, cause I smell triple. So Toriko and Komatsu get on the raft and they start paddling down the rest of the way. And then Komatsu is thinking about what the director told him. So pretty much the director told him that the way that Galala alligators are known for is for their appetite and their aggressiveness towards other people or other animals. He describes that the older they are, the higher the capture level will be. So he said that the Galala alligators are known to live for 150 years old, but he received a report that there's a possibility of a Galala alligator that's been living there for 300 years. So he comes to the conclusion that the capture level will not be 5, but actually a lot higher. And then the director wants Komatsu to keep that to himself and not tell Toriko. But Komatsu can't keep it to himself and decides to tell Toriko about the Galala crocodile. But as he's about to tell him, Toriko's like, wait. And then out of the blue, a Bering tiger mammal, capture level 3, pops out of like the bushes or the trees, and it seems like Toriko just scares it away with a glare that looks kind of like an evil devilish look. All his teeth turn into like canines. It's crazy. And then that's when, after he leaves, that's when he explains to Toriko about what the director tells him. And then Komatsu's kind of surprised because Toriko doesn't seem fazed about it. He actually seems kind of excited. And then we skip through some panels, and then we see, I'm guessing, the Galala crocodile, and he's like chewing on like some animal. I don't know. It's in his mouth. And then Toriko does he goes into a weird pose, and then he says the fork and the knife. And then, so I'm guessing that he points to his right arm and he says fork, and he points to his left arm, knife. So I'm guessing he calls his arms fork and knife. And then he's talking about how food is so delicious, and there's a panel of his mouth just salivating, like, it's crazy, you can't take it. And then, so the last page, Toriko just tells Komatsu that you should probably put that shotgun that you have away, because from now on all the animals here's capture levels are higher than usual, so a shotgun will not do anything to them. If anything, it'll just tickle them. And that's the end of the chapter. So my question for this chapter will be, what catcher level will the Galala Alligator be? And please like, comment, and subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.